Alright, everybody, just a quick little thing here about everything going on in the country. Like I said, it seems like times it's like the Twilight Zone in America anymore. Go back to Bush's first election, and remember Dan Rather and all his sayings and how it was flip-flopping back and forth. Oh, wait a minute, new results, and then we had the court stuff and all that. A lot of conspiracy theories about all that, and if it was rigged or not. And you look at the things led up to and happened 9/11. All the conspiracy theories about that. And, I know one of the biggest things that made me go, huh? Was them finding one of those guys' passports pretty much intact immediately after, the towers collapsed. To me, that was like, hold on, who are you kidding moment for me. But and all the other stuff, and then the phony WMD, weapons of mass destruction, for the invasion of Iraq, and the apparently staged thing with Obama and them watching the team go and get bin Laden, and then they don't bring his body back, and all those types of things. But even if you go back to 92 and the riots in LA and the things that happened there, I was out there when it happened, and the media just played upon all that big time, and played up the city's gonna burn stuff and everything, and then how the cops just didn't show up anywhere. People were murdered in the street, live, on TV, on the evening news. Police helicopter right above. Camera crews right there. Wasn't on cell phone stuff. There was camera crews right there. Watching as the people screamed in the street, to stop the traffic and drag them out of their cars. And pretty much one of the main characters that was there was screaming, don't hurt Mexicans, only whites and Asians and stuff. I remember that clearly, and I believe one of the persons who was killed was Korean or Vietnamese or something like that. But they dragged people right out of their vehicles, people just on their way home from work, dragged them out of their vehicles, tortured them, and killed them right there in the street on the evening news. And pretty much we're seeing a lot of the bad stuff now. I don't think they're telling us all the bad stuff that's been happening right now. When this all started, the focus was on the police officer in the police department of Minneapolis. It was atrocious what happened, and how the other cops just stood there. Atrocious how other people just walked by. There should have been more people there, and maybe even made an attempt to push that cop off of that guy. But that's what the focus was on. And through all the looting and burning, arson, the assaults on police officers, who, by the way, in the beginning of all this, their anger and disgust was with the officer, and focus was on that police department. That's changed now. Out here, just general conversation, hearing people talking about what happened and stuff and everything, everybody's sympathy was towards the family and the African American community. everyone was disgusted with what happened. The focus isn't on that now, and the sympathy and the love and stuff towards the African American community, it's pretty much gone now. Pretty much the vibe out here now is, who cares? Look what they're doing. And I know it's not just African Americans. There's a lot of white punks out there who are looting and doing all this crap too. There's no excuse for it. None. You've taken what could have united people and brought some harmony and understanding to race relations. You've taken it and turned it completely 100% around. Those of you who've been out there looting and doing all this stuff, you're not helping the situation. You're not helping it at all. You should all be ashamed of yourselves, deeply ashamed of yourselves, because instead of uniting people, now you've caused division. You've caused a lot of division. And it's going to remain to be seen if these companies and stuff who've suffered all this loss want to go back into those communities and have businesses there again. And it's still going on. The officer's been arrested. And you call in, and the news keeps saying, oh, protesters. It's not protesters. It's a riot. Go have a candlelight vigil somewhere. You want to call it a peaceful demonstration? That's a peaceful demonstration. Have services at churches. Have candlelight vigils. Have, rallies out in front of the courthouse and stuff like that. Going out and blocking traffic on highways and involving other people, you've got no right to do that. And we're hearing all the same thing from the governors and mayors and all. It's you got to understand the anger and all this. And we heard all that back in LA in '92. You have to do something to protect the rest of the community, the rest of the population. Just because people are angry, people get angry every day. People who are school shooters are angry people. You have to understand the anger. Really? How far do you take that? How far do you understand before you put your foot down and say enough is enough? And you're seeing cops being fired for trying to do their jobs in handling all this because they tased people or something. What do you want them to do? Nothing? You want them to be assaulted and stand there and take it and take it and take it and take it? And then say, oh, yeah, it's a difficult job. And then fire them because they try and subdue some of these people? Which brings me to my next point. How much responsibility do people who cause the interaction between police and themselves, how much responsibility do they bear? Because I've been thinking about this kind of philosophical thing here. I know the legal things and stuff, according to the Constitution and our laws and stuff in the country. I'll get into that too. But remember that song from the Beretta Show, Don't Do the Crime If You Can't Do the Time? Now, my generation, pretty much, if you were out doing something wrong and a cop showed up and maybe you got your ass beat or something, oh well, you shouldn't have been doing what you were doing. No one wants to take responsibility. No one wants to make criminals responsible or people responsible. We've all watched Cops, where cops go to the same place all the time, same domestic problems, some drunk in his trailer, fighting with his wife or whatever it is, repeatedly, and the cop will say, wasn't I just out here last week and this and that? And these are adults. How much responsibility do they have? They're causing the contact with the police. Almost every case where something has gone bad has been because the cops are called. It's their duty to respond. They didn't ask for the situation. You have people who can't control themselves and their actions, who won't get their shit together and join the rest of humanity. Millions upon millions of people in this country go to work every day, grind it out, take care of their families, go through their whole lives never having contact with police. Never. And you have to ask the question, what's wrong with the rest of you morons? You can't get your shit together. That you continually live lives where you're doing stuff to cause the police to come and have contact with you. So that's the question. How much responsibility does if you or I go into a store and rob it, and then the cops come and they catch you and you have an altercation and you're belligerent with them and everything, and they end up beating your ass, whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? I know we got laws and policies and all that on police behavior, and no, we don't want cops taking, the punt, and that's the thing. Our laws say, you're innocent till proven guilty, and it's just the cops' job to investigate and arrest you and everything. But if they have to subdue you and everything, you're resisting arrest, and they beat your ass, honestly, why should I or anybody else out here give a damn? Why? Why should we give a damn? I don't care if you're black, white, pink with polka dots, what you are. If you're out doing something that necessitates the police coming, and they've had to deal with you time and time again, and you're an adult, especially if you're like past 25 or something, or especially if you're a lifetime criminal and you're in your 40s, why should I or the rest of society give a shit what happens to you? Why? You can't get your act together and join the rest of humanity and live a normal life like millions of people in this country do, and never have an interaction with the police. Never. You're a pariah on society at that point. If you're an adult and you're still dealing drugs or doing whatever, drunk driving, causing havoc in your community, whatever you're doing, that you constantly have to have the police called on your ass, why should I or anybody else in this country give a damn what happens to you? Why? Get your shit together and act like an adult. Be responsible for your own actions. All of a sudden then it's, oh, look what the police did. Oh, they violated my rights. You violated other people's rights by stealing from them or whatever the hell you were doing. I think people are I know I'm getting fed up. I'm to the point anymore, it's like, what do I care? Look at it logically. If I went out and I did something, robbed a store, whatever, was breaking into cars, drunk out in the street, causing problems, fighting and stuff, and the cops had to keep coming because of my stupid ass, and they beat my ass, or worse, or whatever, whose fault is it? I gotta look at it logically and say, you know what? Remember when you're a kid? You remember the saying, you make your bed, you lay in it? Your parents used to ask you all the time, whose fault is that? You shouldn't have been doing that. You shouldn't have been over there. You shouldn't be hanging with those people. Think about it, honestly. I'm giving the benefit and saying, if you're above the age of 25 and you're still doing this shit, who gives a crap? But actually, if you're above the age of 18, some might even say more, 16. You got these gangs out there running around, guns, shooting each other and stuff and everything. Chicago, how many murders happened and all this. Saw a thing in the in the news not too long ago. 4 boys beat the hell out of a girl for her Jordan sneakers. Stomped her in the street. You know what happened to them? Zip. What kind of message are you sending to people when you're telling them they're not responsible for their actions, but the cops are? Every little thing the cops do is under a microscope. Forget the actions of the person that they're there to handle. You know the way I look at it? If you have the police being called on you, it's just the same as you see these dumbasses who jump over the fences at the zoo and go into the lion cage and shit like that. That's the way I look at it now. I'm fed up. If you're dumb enough to jump the fence and go in there and mess with a lion and you get mauled, whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? It's the same thing. You have a mind. You have a God-given mind. You have a sense of right and wrong. And if you're out doing shit that you shouldn't be doing, and there are places you shouldn't be, and the cops come and something bad happens, whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? It's no different. In my eyes anymore, you're the same as the dumbass that jumps over the fence and goes into the lion's cage. And maybe if we had that kind of mentality again in this country, it's like, you know, you put your hand in the fire, you get burned. Dumbass. Start teaching that to our children again, a lot of this crime would disappear. A lot of these tragedies would disappear. We don't care no more. Is the attitude you're going to have to start carrying, or else things are going to get worse in this country. You're dumb enough to be doing it. Don't cry to us. Don't come crying to us. You're what? How old are you? You're 30? Oh, you're 40? You're still out. You're out there dealing drugs, or you're robbing a store. I don't give a shit. What happens to you? Just say, you play with fire, you get burned. Shouldn't have been doing that, dumbass. That's my question. Whose fault is it? You're telling me the cops bear all the responsibility? They didn't ask for the situation. They didn't tell your dumbass to be out there doing whatever the hell you're doing that caused them to be called. Did they? Millions of people get up every single day and grind it out and don't think about going and committing acts that require the cops' involvement in their lives. Other people get up, have no desire to join the rest of humanity, the rest of civilization, and live a normal life. And it doesn't matter if you're white, black, brown, pink with polka dots, I don't give a damn. You get up, you got no desire, you're antisocial. F everybody, you're going to live that life and all this and everything. Oops, and then guess what? At some point you have an interaction with the police, something goes wrong, you're calling them every name in the book, you're lying to them, you're fighting with them, and they beat your ass. Oh my goodness, poor you. Poor you. The media plays it out. The cops, they're to blame. We're going to have to start looking at things different in this country, because this liberal, totally liberal thing, nobody's responsible for their actions, is bull. And the way the media's not supposed to be biased either way, and the media's been politicized to one side or the other. If you're for law and order and all that and everything, oh, you must be a racist. Look how the cops treat this group or that group or whatever like this. More whites are killed by cops in this country than blacks, by the way. You don't see that on the news every day. You don't see all these riots going on every time a white person is killed by cops, do you? And there's more of us that are killed than blacks. And you know what? Most whites have the mentality I'm just talking about there. You shouldn't have been fucking around. Excuse my French. Shouldn't have been doing what you were doing. Drunk coming home from the bar, getting a fight with a cop, getting a shootout with a cop. He shoots your ass. Oh well. When are we going to stop having sympathy for criminals? Just like I don't have no sympathy for that cop that did this. I got no love for him. Why should I have sympathy and love for the criminals that caused the situation to begin with? Why? So that's my question. How much more of this are we going to put up with before we say, you know what? You're like the dumbass that jumps over the fence in the zoo. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. You don't want the cops in your lives? Quit doing stupid shit. Now the constitutional things and everything, all right, they're not supposed to go beyond, but it's going to happen. They're there to investigate, handle the situation, and let the courts and the law, like you see cops all tell it to the judge. Tell it to the judge. It's not their job to decide and dole out punishment. They're not judge, jury and executioner. They're not supposed to be. But there's a point where you got to say, you know what? The people who can't seem to get through life without having, who can't grow up, who can't join society, who can't get through life without having the police interaction in their lives because of their own actions, there's a point you got to say, well, you brought it upon yourself. Who cares? And I think a lot of people are starting to get to that point. I know I am. Get with the program. Get your act together. How much time and resources do we waste in this country on people who refuse to get their act together? Refuse to grow up? Whose lives there's got to be so much drama. Got to be. Anyway, that's kind of my questions and my observations right now. I know a lot I'm venting because of what I'm seeing going on around the country, and just watching. I shouldn't even watch the news anymore because it just ticks me off. They're showing people destroying a target and looting a target and other places and stuff like this, and the airhead on the TV is still calling them protesters. Those aren't protesters. Those are thieves. Those are thugs. Protesting is going and having a candlelight vigil, is going outside the mayor's office, is demanding action for better police training, all those types of things. It's not stealing. That stealing is not protesting. And all you morons who've been doing it, you've turned the focus completely around, and the disgust completely around. The disgust and the focus was on the actions of that cop and the police departments, and now it's totally turned around. And whose fault is it? It's yours. You all ought to be deeply ashamed of yourselves if you've been out there rioting and stealing and doing stuff. That's not protesting. And people in this society need to be adamant about that. That is not protesting. And they need to call for the arrests of every single one of you who are doing that crap. Because I guarantee you, you've got no care for George Floyd or the situation or anything. You're out there for yourselves. So, anyway, that's my opinion, my observations on this stuff there. Wish you all the best out there. God bless, and be safe.